I'll be really, really quick. So let's review real quickly. We have a new president, Taft. Tubby Taft. Prefers to avoid conflicts. He was handpicked by Roosevelt. Didn't really work out that well because Roosevelt doesn't like that he won't go after big business. He does have some successes, Department of Labor, 8 hours, but I'm going to be honest with you, he aligns with conservative Republicans and he splits with Roosevelt's progressives. That is going to anger Teddy. Of course, this cartoon, we like this one with the kitty cats and the yarn and everything, and Teddy's looking over his shoulder. Goodness gracious, I must have been dozing. We talked about the Triangle Shirtwaist Factory. Doesn't really have a lot to do with Taft. However, it does show you there are issues that need to be fixed. We have to fix them during the progressive era. But here's where we kind of left off. So pause this, get it down. Okay. When you have Teddy and this massive personality of Theodore Roosevelt, a lot of people are going to get behind him. And with that, you are going to see if he is unhappy, those people are unhappy. So when Teddy Roosevelt is unhappy with Taft's inability to be kind of aggressive with progressive reforms, he's going to say, this is not what I wanted you to do. What are you doing? I don't want you to be president anymore. I handpicked you, but now you're screwing things up. So what Teddy does is actually something that nobody's done before, and it really is going to ruffle some feathers because it's not in accordance to Washington's precedents that he set. He comes back in the 1912 election. Teddy's already served 2 terms, and he challenges Taft for the Republican nomination. He forms what is we're going to call a third party. Out beside the slide, I want you to write third party, centered around Teddy's personality, and it's called the Progressive Bull Moose Party. I love the name of it, a bull moose, because that's what Teddy is. He does what he wants. He is a bull moose. As a result, though, here is the big picture here. As a result, because you just took the Republican Party and split it in half, so what used to be 50% Republican, 50% Democrat, you now have 25% Teddy, 25% Taft, and 50% Democrat, which you're going to find out is Woodrow Wilson, which means the Republicans lose because they split themselves, Democrats win. So why did he form his own party? Because he was upset with how Taft was doing things. But when he formed his own party, he handed the election over to the Democrats. But the Bull Moose Party is a major part of history, and it was really about the fact that Teddy wants to protect the people, and Taft was doing an okay job, but not that great. Remember, he got stuck in a bathtub. So, kind of an interesting aspect to that. Because of the split in the Republican Party, you have Woodrow Wilson becoming president. This is going to be the big change here. Very end of the notes, okay? Pause this, get it down. Now, Woodrow Wilson is going to be a progressive. I want you to kind of take and make a note of that. He will be a progressive. However, what ends up eating Woodrow Wilson's presidency alive is World War I. Now, some of the progressive things that he did want to lower tariffs. Remember, a tariff is a tax on imports. So he wants to take and start trade with other countries. Thinks it would be better for this country. And it probably would be. He also created something, and this is going to be a hard one, so I need you to highlight this, and I put test out beside it. Did you notice? He creates something called the Federal Reserve System, and this is a monetary reform. Remember, what does monetary mean? Money reform, in which the federal government requires banks to keep a portion of the deposits in the bank to regulate currency supply. So you got to listen to this one really carefully. I know it's the end of the notes, but you got to listen to me. This means if I, the bank, have $100,000 in deposits, I need to keep 25% of them, $25,000, in a reserve bank so that I don't put all of the money into the economy and inflate the economy. And I also need to keep it because what happens if everybody wants their monies back? Well, I got to have some money to give back, right? And with that, the Federal Reserve System is supposed to regulate and stabilize the banking industry. If this had worked really well, we may not have seen the Great Depression. But the Federal Reserve System, and just think about that word, reserve. If you reserve a table, you save it, right? So it's supposed to save the banking industry by saving money in regulation banks. But it doesn't save enough, and we'll start to see that when we talk about the beginning of the Great Depression. The other thing he does is he puts together the FTC, the Federal Trade Commission, regulating American business. This all sounds a lot like a progressive, doesn't it? Keating-Owen Child Labor Act. Ooh, finally, we ban the employment of children under 14. Good. So he is a progressive, but here's the deal. He takes over in 1912. World War I starts in 1914. We'll enter it in 1917. So Woodrow Wilson's presidency is pretty much taken over by World War I. Okay, so that's kind of when the progressive era somewhat dies down because we go to war. You can't do two things at once. Wilson has to win the war, so that's what you're looking at. Overall, big picture on the very back of this page, I've got this right here. We're going to look at it in class, but here is every progressive reform that we talked about. Massively important that you look at this page. Do you know how every single thing helped the people? How did it reform it for the better? The big ones are going to be your amendments. Down at the bottom of your notes, I put blanks. You better know those amendments. And how did they help the people? Good job, guys.